Hello everyone, and welcome to this session on corporate laws and practice. Today, we'll be diving into the fundamentals and basics of the Competition Act of 2002. This act was established to ensure fair competition within the Indian market, specifically by prohibiting anti-competitive practices and preventing the misuse of dominant market positions. It replaced the older Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act, aligning with modern economic developments. The act primarily regulates three key areas: anti-competitive agreements, the abuse of dominant market positions, and the regulation of combinations like mergers and acquisitions. The Competition Commission of India, or CCI, is the statutory body responsible for enforcing this crucial legislation. Let's start by looking at Section 3, which covers anti-competitive agreements and is considered the core of the Act. Anti-competitive agreements are arrangements made by businesses or individuals that aim to stop healthy competition. These can often harm customers who may not even be aware such agreements exist. Section 3(1) broadly prohibits any enterprise, person, or association from entering into agreements concerning the production, supply, distribution, storage, acquisition, or control of goods or services if these agreements cause, or are likely to cause, an appreciable adverse effect on competition within India. Consequently, any agreement made in contravention of this section is considered void. So what exactly does appreciable adverse effect on competition, or AAEC, mean? It signifies a significant negative impact on competition, one that would undeniably affect the economy or economically harm consumers. While the Act doesn't provide an exact definition, Section 193 outlines factors the CCI considers when determining if an agreement is likely to cause an AAEC. These include creating barriers for new market entrants, driving out existing competitors, or foreclosing competition. On the other hand, the CCI also considers if the agreement leads to benefits for consumers, improves production or distribution, or promotes technical, scientific, or economic development. If the positive effects outweigh the negative ones, the agreement might not be deemed anti-competitive. Now, let's explore the types of anti-competitive agreements, starting with horizontal agreements, as defined in Section 3(3). These are agreements between entities at the same stage or level of the production chain, essentially competitors. They often involve enterprises, associations of enterprises, or individuals. Key characteristics of such agreements include directly or indirectly determining purchase or sale prices, limiting or controlling production, supply, markets or investment, or sharing markets, often by geographical allocation, like we might see with cable networks. Bid rigging, where tenders or bids are manipulated, is another common form. It's important to note that anti-competitive agreements, particularly horizontal ones, are often oral and not written, precisely because they involve illegal activities. For horizontal agreements, the law presumes they cause an AAEC. This means the burden of proof shifts to the accused party to demonstrate that no AAEC occurred. However, joint ventures are an exemption if they clearly increase efficiency in production, supply, or services, as they are openly defined for specific purposes or durations. Moving on, we have vertical agreements covered under Section 3(4). These are agreements between enterprises or persons at different stages of the production chain, often in different markets. For instance, an agreement between a distributor and a producer. Generally, vertical agreements are considered less dangerous than their horizontal counterparts. Types include tie-in arrangements, exclusive supply or distribution agreements, refusal to deal, and resale price maintenance. Unlike horizontal agreements, there is no presumption of AAEC for vertical agreements. They are only considered contravening if it's proven that they cause or are likely to cause an AAEC in India. The Director General, or DG, has the burden of proving this to the CCI. There are also important exemptions from these anti-competitive agreement rules outlined in Section 3(5). Statutory exemptions are granted to exclusive rights related to intellectual property rights, or IPRs, such as copyrights, patents, trademarks, and designs. However, there's an important caveat. While the reasonable use of IPRs is exempt, any abuse of IPRs, like refusing to provide essential technology, is not. Another exemption covers export cartels. If an agreement, even one that might seem anti-competitive within India, is formed primarily for the purpose of exporting goods or services from India, it's generally allowed and falls outside the scope of the Act, provided it doesn't impact the Indian market. Next, let's look at the regulation of combinations, encompassing mergers, acquisitions, and amalgamations. The Act regulates combinations that might cause an appreciable adverse effect on competition. A significant proposed change in the Competition Amendment Bill introduces a new deal value threshold. This requires prior clearance from the CCI if a transaction exceeds 2,000 crore Indian rupees, or about $250 million, especially if a party has substantial business operations in India. This new threshold is in addition to existing asset and turnover-based thresholds. Its rationale is to capture the competitive significance of non-profit generating companies, like many tech startups, that have enormous valuations. It's a sector-neutral test, though it's thought to target killer acquisitions in the tech space. The bill also seeks to redefine control from a decisive influence standard to material influence over a company's affairs or strategic decisions. Regarding the combination review process, the proposed changes also affect timelines. For acquisitions on regulated stock exchanges, prior CCI approval is still required if thresholds are met, but the bill proposes deferring this approval. This means acquisitions can proceed, but intimation and approval from the CCI are required within a reasonable time, and parties cannot exercise beneficial or ownership rights during this deferral period. Additionally, the amendment proposes to redefine turnover by excluding sales or revenues from assets or customers outside India. This is particularly beneficial for export-driven companies, as it may reduce the incidence of needing approval. Finally, the proposed changes significantly reduce review timelines. Currently, the outer limit for review is 210 days, with a shorter Phase 1 review of 30 working days. The bill proposes reducing these to 150 days for the outer limit and 20 calendar days for the shorter Phase 1 review. While this means faster transaction closings, it also implies higher pressure on parties to submit letter-perfect filings and on the CCI for quick turnarounds. This could lead to more invalidations, potentially encouraging or even making pre-filing consultations with the CCI more common. Throughout all this, the Competition Commission of India, or CCI, stands as the central statutory body enforcing the Act. Its key powers and functions include conducting investigations into alleged anti-competitive practices, imposing penalties on those in violation, and approving or rejecting mergers and acquisitions to prevent adverse effects on competition. The CCI also undertakes advocacy and education to inform businesses and consumers about competition issues and the importance of a competitive market. Ultimately, the CCI's work ensures that markets remain competitive, which benefits consumers through better prices, higher quality products, and greater innovation. Thank you for joining this session.